Jason Kelley, I'm the global GM for IBM Blockchain Services. Take 20 minutes here, if not less, to have a quick conversation. I'm selling nothing to you all right? I got nothing to pitch. I got no leave behinds. I got nothing, all right? I got on my Go Fast kicks today, my running shoes for Trailblazers, and also in case you get tired of hearing about what I'm talking about, I can run the hell out of here, all right? So that's it. This is a conversation. You came here to learn something, and thanks to some very thoughtful guidance, I can see Natalia from Bond. I spoke to her at lunch. She gave me great advice. Jason, just share some good information so we can learn something, we can ask you a question, then get the hell out. So that's what we'll do. We'll start with blockchain, and the good thing with all this, I don't have to explain a damn thing today. You all already, I don't have to do the 101 on blockchain. I don't have to do the exchange of value. You all get that. The challenge is what we're seeing in the market and what we're seeing across all of our global locations is this thought that, is it just hype? Is this just the next thing? Is this the next services-oriented architecture? Is this the next AI, the advanced analytics? You know, are we really trailblazing, or are we in that same wheel? Are we just running through this thing yet again? Is it the same hype cycle? So now you have to appease me. We're going to do some like late night TV stuff here. All right? This is about Trailblazers, but all too often in this stage of the game, we have some blockchain tall tale blazers. These are the people who are telling you the big stories, the hype. They want you to believe that it's going to change your world tomorrow. Remember when we were going to get rid of branch banks? Yeah, they disappeared, didn't they? Yeah, it's like the terrible service I got last week. So it's not gone. It's still going. You know, so we can't believe these things. And that leaves us to the blockchain big fail blazers, because that's what happens. We believe the hype. We believe the hype about a technology. Technology is a technology is a technology. What we have learned and what you should be sharing with those that you're talking to, technology is going to come and go. It's about the outcome. We practice design thinking day in and day out because it's the outcome of the end user that technology ultimately has to meet. And we see this time and time again. People really don't care about this thing, blockchain. We don't walk around with a bucket of blockchain and spread it all around. It still doesn't work that way. And so what we know is it will lead to block pain. It's like a Jimmy Fallon thing, right? From block pain turns to block blame. It keeps going. I'll stop in a second. From block blame, ultimately, there's some blockchain. And that's it. That's as good as it gets. That's my humor, and I'm done, all right? It's not funny after this, other than the funny-looking guy you're staring at. So what we know is that we have to get beyond this, and it's the basics. The basics in what this technology is delivering. Ultimately, it's a transaction. That's it. It's a transaction and change of value. And so in that, there's a classic thought that let's just take a step back and give you some reference of where I'm coming from. Yes, I'm in a 107-year-old startup. So that's my point of reference, all right? And in that reference, we're a cloud platform, software as a service company. We have 400 plus engagements to date over the last 2.5 to 3 years in blockchain. We have a community of 200 plus startups and 10 plus now active blockchain engagements. You look at the news networks, I should say. You look at the news today, there's a big release about some of the things I'll be talking about today. So yes, we've been doing this for a while. So this is why I'm here just sharing this. Got nothing to sell you, but it's worth knowing my point of view and where I'm coming from when I'm telling you this. I know I look 20. This is where you laugh and shake your head. But I'm almost 3 times that. So in doing that, the traditional exchange of value is the value chain, sometimes called the supply chain. whatever it is, whether it's in financial services, there's something, a product, a loan product that's produced that goes through and is distributed out to those people who are going to then regulate and ultimately take it out to the point of sale. We often think of farm to fork, so food is a common thing because we all like to eat. I just watch you all feed your faces. You like eating, right? So this is something that we know happens. Ultimately, it's still the consumer. As I said, the end user. We go and we talk to the big corporations, and ultimately what we find out is it's still about that end user. And in that end user, they still decide by price, by quality, social status, all these things that are in there. And that is delivered through that chain. And that's also where the waste is. That's where the cost is. And this is what we know about the beauty in this capability, not technology, but this capability. That's what we know is happening because the common issues are about brokering these relationships. As soon as we talk about this slide looks like it could be farm to fork, but we put this up and we talk about this with every industry. And we have people go, I get that. I know what that means because this is me on a day-to-day basis, and I know that there's some process in increasing the value, so we think of what the outcome is out the other side. Some will say decreasing the value, or at least the return, because of that waste, if you look at it that way. So let's take a step in this, and now I'm going to jump into high speed. This is where I use these shoes. I'm going to talk you through, show you through some things just so you can see. So what's happening? This is real. These aren't experiments. We're past the point of blockchain tourism. We're not doing that anymore. This is, in fact, real stuff. So you can read about this today, Walmart, with their transparency effort, and you would call, some people call it supply chain visibility, but specifically food safety. That's something we can all love, knowing that all it takes is one foodborne illness to cause a challenge. If we could just reduce 1% of the foodborne illnesses globally, it would equal about $7 billion on an annual basis, not to mention the much not needed hardship that comes out of that. Enough of Jason talking. Let's get to Frank Yenis, the Vice President of Food Safety for Walmart.
I purchased a pack of mangoes. I came into my staff meeting. I put them on the table and I said, your traceback exercise starts right now. And we timed how long it took them to get the information for each point in the food system all the way back to the farm. And I'm not going to give you the results after the pilot, but it's going to be good. When a customer shops in our stores, we know they expect great prices. We know they expect fast, clean, and friendly service. But an unspoken expectation is that they expect the products that they buy in our stores to be safe. You know, when there's a food event or a food scare, what you want to do is you want to be fast, but you want to be right. That food product is guilty until proven innocent. We at Walmart will actually pull all of the product until we know what is the implicated product and we can put the safe product back out. And so imagine if we could pinpoint with certainty within minutes, not days, that it was the implicated product. Walmart and IBM are working to make that a reality. If you think about the food system, it's pretty complex. It involves farmers, processors, distributors. And the way traceability is done today, each segment of the food system does it their own way. Most actually do it on paper or on systems that don't speak to each other. And so you can never have a full view of what's happening in the food system. What we hope to do with blockchain is bring all food safety system stakeholders and collaborate so that we do it one best way. We can do it very quickly and efficiently. Blockchain is a digital ledger that allows different segments of the food system to capture information about the product, what they've done to it, where that product has been. If we're linking that data with other data points, the Internet of Things, all that information will yield to insights that will allow us to have a safer, more affordable, and sustainable food system. But we don't believe traceability is the goal. We believe that transparency is the ultimate goal. Blockchain will give us the ability to not only track where food came from, but how it was produced. Was it produced safely? Was it produced responsibly? Is it sustainably grown? How many dates of shelf life are left on that product? The food system is a shared responsibility, and for blockchain and traceability and transparency to work, we need a lot of people working together. And so we're excited to be working with IBM on this blockchain initiative, But it's not just Walmart and IBM. We actually have some of our suppliers participating in this pilot. We've got some universities also participating in the pilot. And so we'll make sure that all stakeholders work together for a safer and better food system.
So there you have it. A quick video, better than me talking to you about it. You heard some key things there with regards to traceability versus just tracking and understanding then also the origin. There's also the implications of what's next, the implications of saying, hey, this goes into IoT, not just saying, oh, well, is that mango the mango that you thought it was and was it from farm to fork, but what were the temperature changes in that truck when it went from point A to point B and who's responsible for that? You start to look at those different characteristics so you tie IoT into blockchain as well as a deep in learning cognitive capability around that. Won't bore you with what was just said in the video. Instead, sake of time, let me jump to another example. We just talked about food. Now what about how they get from point A to point B? Think of going through multiple places. A lot of the mangoes come from South America as they come into the US, and so there's a lot of paperwork that has to be done. What if we could digitize that? What if we could have real-time tracking? What if we could free up that supply chain just by 5%? That would give us or actually I should say that we'd get a 5% increase in GDP by freeing up that supply chain, which is a significant amount of money. Stop talking, Jason, get to the video, and let me have you listen to what we're doing with Maersk.
The following is a demonstration of how IBM and Maersk are partnering to digitize and simplify global trade using blockchain to create trust and transparency in the supply chain. Global trade functions much as it has since the introduction of the shipping container in 1956. Manual, paper-based processes are still common, and information about the status of goods is locked away in organizational silos. Today, 90% of goods in global trade are carried by the shipping industry, with the supply chain slowed by the complexity and sheer volume of point-to-point communication across a loosely coupled web of land transportation providers, freight forwarders, customs brokers, governments, ports, and ocean carriers. IBM and Maersk are addressing this problem with a distributed, permission platform accessible by the supply chain ecosystem designed to exchange event data and handle document workflows. Maersk and IBM are employing blockchain technology to create a global, tamper-proof system for digitizing trade workflow and tracking shipments end-to-end, eliminating frictions including costly point-to-point communications. The collaboration will launch with the potential ability to track millions of container journeys per year and integrate with customs authorities on selected trade lanes. In a recent test by Maersk, shipping a single container of flowers from Kenya to the port of Rotterdam resulted in a stack of nearly 200 communications. Using this example, we will examine how blockchain has been implemented to create trust and security in the digitized document workflow and improve the efficiency of global supply chains. Here we can see each distinct entity involved in the transaction: the growers, export authorities, ports, customs, and importers. Shipping from the port of Mombasa requires signatures from 3 different agencies approving the export and 6 documents that describe the origin, chemical treatments, quality of the produce, and customs duties. Firstly, using a PC or mobile device, the Kenyan farm submits a packing list that becomes visible to all participants. This action initiates a smart contract that enforces an export approval workflow between the 3 agencies. As each agency signs, the status is updated for all to see. Simultaneously, information about the inspection of the flowers, the sealing of the refrigerated container, the pickup by the trucker, and the approval from customs is communicated to the port of Mombasa, allowing them to prepare for the container. All actions relating to the documents and the physical goods are captured and shared: which documents were submitted, when and by whom, where the flowers are and who is in possession of them, and the next steps in their journey. Flowers are perishable, so it's crucial that there are no delays or missteps. Blockchain provides secure data exchange and a tamper-proof repository for these documents and shipping events. This system could significantly reduce delays and fraud, saving billions of dollars annually. And according to the WTO, reducing barriers within the international supply chain could increase worldwide GDP by almost 5% and total trade volume by 15%. For more information on how IBM can help make blockchain right for your business, please visit ibm.com/blockchain.
So those are two examples, and now I'll talk about a third very briefly, and then we'll get right to the very end. Two examples there, and a third, we've talked the actual product from point A to point B. We've talked about shipping that in the supply chain, and then somewhere in there has to be some type of finance. Recently announced the consortium of digital trade chain throughout Europe. 7 banks have signed up, and we're working with them now in order to pull together that back-end processing of cross-border payments and trade. So when you think of these European banks working together, and we think about the consumer packaged good as well as retail industry working in the network that we started out with as well as trade, what we get then is a network of networks. This is where there's opportunity for all of you to play. This is not a small item. We think about global trade with Maersk. We think about the financial services. We think about the consumer industry. That doesn't even start to touch on the thoughts of what about the insurance players in there? Where does IoT tie in this? What about the loyalty points that can be traded through here? What about utilities that play into this? All of those networks then tie together, and we say, oh, well, you know, IBM, don't you guys, you play with that Hyperledger stuff, right? That's where you're leading. Well, yes, that's right. We picked a horse and we rode it and we're riding it hard. But guess what? There's other networks that we're playing with here as well. Our first one here, the largest one in the U.S. that we started doing is based on Axne. We think of consumer payments. Stellar's a great play, especially throughout Southeast Asia. So all of those things, think of them coming together. Keep this in mind. So this is the knowledge to share. These things have to come together. You know, you think of the world, if any of you bet on Netscape, you know, where'd that go in the internet days, right? Ultimately, they will come together, and you will have what you'll lay over top of these when you begin to think, well, where does cognitive fit? It's in there. Where does deep analytics fit? It's in there. Mobile, it's a given. Just as you saw in the example, the farmer in Kenya is going to jump out and work with their phone versus getting on something else in order to make that happen. Those things layer in, and this doesn't get any easier. Across this slide, as you look at it, I won't bore you by reading it out, but it's just, again, to let you know here are some specific use cases by actual companies that are public enough to say, Jason, we don't care if you have it on the slide. These are the things that are happening and our opportunity for you as well as us. As I mentioned, we have a community of 200 plus startups. We love to work with everyone to make sure that we advance this capability because it's all going to mean more opportunity for all of us. What do we know? Is that it's the value of the network. This that we're talking about, blockchain, is a team sport. Team sport. And this is how it's done. The more the team, you get 8x return. All of the processes that we look at across most enterprises are still non-digitized. This is where we all can work together to change that. Must-haves. To be a trailblazer, other than wearing, go fast shoes, what you have to be able to do is make sure that when you're working with players that they have experience. Remember, the tourism days of blockchain are over. The science experiments were last year. The POCs were last year as well. Now it's about doing. The examples that I've shown you. Those are the trailblazers. There's industry specificity. This is where I know we stand on this very hard. And in each of the examples I've given you, that's where we know you can't just say, I have that bucket of blockchain, and now let me paint a retail sticker on it. What's the business case? What's the outcome? That has to come in. Robust, flexible ecosystem. That's all of us working together. And then, of course, and there's a S on that for a reason, as I said, capability to work across platforms, making those complex integrations. That stuff does not get easier. That's what everyone believes, that, oh yeah, this is going to make it real simple. We know that's the front end story. Past the hype, there's still a lot of heavy lifting to be done behind the scenes. So, 3 closing points. If you're going to do this blockchain thing, you're not going to walk around with a bucket of it and try and spread it on everything, or use blockchain at the beginning of the sentence so everyone shuts up and listens, like what's coming next, or are you that other person in the room that uses blockchain at the end of the sentence because blockchain is going to solve everything, Like my 12-year-old daughter that I don't want to go out with anyone until she's 32, I'm going to spread a little blockchain on that. I'm not joking. I'm really doing it. So that's not what we want. There's the three things I'll leave you with. Make sure you're creating value. Optimize the ecosystem. It's a team sport. That person you thought was your competitor yesterday is actually your co-opetition tomorrow. And know that you have to reduce risk so that you're decreasing costs or increasing the market opportunity. It's that damn simple. So hopefully didn't sell you anything other than sharing some good information. I appreciate the 20 minutes that you gave me. Luis, thanks for the help. Thank you.